Dude, I'm drinking a miniature Dr. Pep.
What is a miniature Dr. Pep?
Well, a Dr. Pepper. I shouldn't really shorten it because I'm not like a Dr. Pepper person. But I think it's given me a little bit of pep in my steps, so I wanted to call it Dr. Pep.
But I'm curious about the miniature part.
It's small, dude. So Lauren likes them.
Yeah.
And they're 90 calories. I don't know how many calories would be in a full-size can.
Probably double. Well, how many ounces is the can?
Well, all of a sudden, I've got a Dr. Pepper expert over in the peanut gallery to the left here.
I can hear her.
She's like, "Oh yeah, it's 90 calories in that can." She was just like fucking factoiding this.
Yeah, she's like 6 grams of sugar, fucking caffeine, 5 milligrams of caffeine.
What'd you say, honey? Yeah. So you don't feel bad about drinking a whole soda. I think that's why she likes them. Plus, she likes Dr. Pepper.
Right.
These small ones, they are nice if you just want like a quick little soda fix or a small amount of caffeine. I'm really not sure how many milligrams are in here.
Well, ask the expert.
Oh, here we go. Wait, 26 milligrams. Yeah, wow. I should have just turned to the expert
Lauren,
here.
How many caffeines?
Yeah. I need you to tell me in exactly half a second.
She'll be like, let's see here. Carry the 4, 30 milligrams.
Carry the 4. That's it. Episode title, Carry the 4.
Hey everybody, welcome to Will and Drew's Gaming Retrospective. You're listening to episode 72 for the week of April 12th, 2020. I'm your host, Drew, and I am joined by Dr. Pepper fan Will.
What's up, man? How are you?
I'm fucking exhausted, bro. It's been a really strange week for me, but outside of just being tired, I'm good. I'm doing well. How are you?
I'm well, man. Almost got blown away today.
Are we talking like the wind, or are we talking like, Michael Bay?
I would say the wind.
Okay.
And I would rephrase that the fact that I said I almost got blown away because I definitely did not go outside once. So it was just kind of one of those things that you say, but like it's just a complete over-exaggeration.
Well, I watched parts of the roof of my building get blown away today.
That's
also a slight exaggeration, but not too much, because they've been doing like construction on the roof, and I saw like gigantic pieces of like foam insulation go flying off.
Oh, Jesus.
It's crazy.
Well, it just kind of reminds me of that Dane Cook joke where he's like, yeah, like, when you see a car accident in your neighborhood, you usually like stand outside and you're like, yeah, I was inside, I was washing a dish and I heard it. And then I came out and I saw it happen and it was crazy. It was absolutely crazy. It's like, dude, you didn't see anything. You're washing a dish.
The guy's shoes went flying.
Yeah.
I remember that.
But yeah, like I was inside all day watching the wind, so I have no place to say I almost got blown away.
No, you don't. I mean,
I'm just creating a nonsensical fictional story.
That's okay. That's
leading up to a fictional story.
I like it.
Yeah, it was hella windy today.
Hella windy.
I never say that either. What's wrong with me?
Oh God, that might be our episode title right now. Hella windy.
Oh my God.
Thank you everybody for
Pep.
tuning in. Oh God, I'm just trying to get past this intro. Thanks everybody. Check us out on the web, WDGRPodcast.com. Hit us up Facebook, Instagram, Twitter at WDGRPodcast. You can find us anywhere you use your social media. Will, how can they find you?
On Twitter, you can find me at Will_Gear.
Find me at Storm. Man, I am so fucking tired.
Well, here's the good thing. You have 9 days off, and you have a lot of time to game. So I'm sure we're all excited to see what Drew's going to play next.
Yeah. Wouldn't it be like incredibly disappointing if I didn't play anything?
You know what would be cool is I hope you can come back out of the gate at the end of this with a game beat. Just one game.
I think it's possible.
Yeah.
You know,
Probably
Doom I don't have... I don't even know how long Doom is. I haven't looked into it.
I would imagine it's at least like 20 hours.
Yeah, I think that sounds about right. The levels in that game are massive. So, like, any kind of scale of progress that I've had, I really don't know. Like, it's kind of skewed. I've only had one boss battle in it so far, and that was in, like, I want to say the third or the fourth stage. But the stages are big. Like, every time I play it, like, I feel like I play for an hour and I feel like I get nowhere.
Mm-hmm. That's a good and bad thing.
Kind of. I mean, I'm enjoying it, but yeah, it's just very weird.
Mm.
But yeah, I mean, like, we were going to talk about it a little bit today. I might as well jump in.
Yeah.
I mean, I haven't played too much lately. The last opportunity I had to play was, I want to say, Tuesday or Wednesday.
Okay.
And, like, I've been kind of stressed out, you know, lately with all the shit that's going on in the world.
Yeah.
So I picked up, you know, I sat down, had some time, I start playing Doom. And Doom is such an adrenaline rush, right? It's a very intense game. And legitimately, my heart rate is going up while I'm playing.
Oh, for sure.
But I think coupled with the anxiety that I've been dealing with, I was starting to just not feel good when I was playing it.
Well, you're like impaling demons.
Yeah.
Close up, too.
Yeah. And I mean, like, you know, there's nothing like launching a grappling hook at a demon and then, you know, zooming towards him at, like, warp speed with a double-barrel shotgun in your hand.
Mm-hmm.
But, yeah, man, I needed to kind of step away from it and put it down. And I needed to play something, like, a little bit calmer.
Smart.
So I've kind of dove into two different things. One is new, one is old. And I picked up a game on sale called the Red Strings Club on the Nintendo Switch.
Okay.
Are you familiar with, like, action adventure games like Curse of Monkey Island, things like that?
No, I am not. So
these are, like, most popular with, like, PC gamers, I feel. Curse of Monkey Island is an old LucasArts game. And it had, like, a very distinct look to it. Almost, I don't want to call them point-and-click adventures because that's not necessarily true, but they're very narrative-driven. And let me get you a picture.
Sure.
They've been on other Steams. They've been on other systems since. I think they've been, like, remastered for stuff, but primarily PC. And they just, I don't know, they just have, like, this look and vibe to them. Very cartoony. There's other examples too of those types of games that are not quite as cartoonish, but let me get you a link here.
Okay.
But it's just it just kind of gives me that vibe, right? There's a lot of reading involved, a lot of narrative structure. Mm-hmm. This game is a little bit different. Red Strings Club is futuristic. It kind of is set in, like, a Blade Runner / cyberpunk kind of world. And very narrative driven. You're playing primarily as a bartender who is also an information broker. And the bartender is trying to get information about a program that kind of fuses artificial intelligence and into, like, an implant for humans, right? Mm-hmm. So, as an example, let's say you wanted to be more confident in life, right? You want to make more sales. You're a salesman. You want to make more sales, and you just need that confidence. There's an implant that will make you more confident, but it comes at a cost. Like, it removes something else from your emotion that you might not necessarily have anymore. So, you know, maybe when you become more confident, you lose something that makes you human. It's like taking the humanity away from you.
Okay. So
he's trying to get information about that, and he comes across an AI being, I guess. And it's weird because, like, I'm still uncovering the story. There's so many questions that I have that I'm still kind of learning about.
But overall, you're finding this game to be more chill.
Very chill. Okay. It's a very chill experience. There's two things that I've experienced gameplay wise so far. One of which is you actually take control of the AI robot for a little while, and you're making those implants. So what you're doing is like you have a client come in, and the client says, I want to be more popular. So you make an implant, and you're basically just taking like a square and trying to shape it to match a mold. It's very basic, but you're shaping this square of clay into a mold to make this implant. And you give this person the implant, and you're trying to decide whether or not it's best to give them what they want or what they think they need, or what will really make them happy in reality versus, something vain like popularity or charisma. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So there's kind of like this moral dilemma going on with it.
Okay.
And then on the bartender side, the information broker, it's kind of vague on how this works within the game world, but apparently he has some kind of mystical power where he can conduct an interview with somebody and knows what their weaknesses are based on what kind of drink they like. And he can use that to extract information from them. So basically the drinks are manipulating the person to give him the types of answers that he's looking for, the type of reaction. So maybe whiskey makes you feel warm and happy, but if you drink like vodka, it makes you fearful and depressed, right? Mm-hmm. So as I'm asking you questions, I can stop and make a drink to steer the conversation and manipulate you into a response that I'm looking for. So if my line of questioning with you, I start asking about, the CEO of the company who's building these implants, right? And you act like you're afraid. Maybe I want to make you more afraid because that's going to get more answers about what I'm looking for. You know what I mean?
This is clever. Very clever.
Really is clever. And it's on the eShop for like $7 right now. Mm-hmm. Has really good music, a really awesome vibe, completely science fiction, like through and through. And it's very chill. It was very relaxing to play.
That's good. I'm glad to hear that.
Yeah, man. I bought it, I think, Wednesday night. Played it for like a couple hours before bed.
Sure.
And it was a lot of fun.
Did you sleep well?
No, I slept like shit.
Damn.
Yeah, I mean, I'm waking up at 4:30 in the morning right now, so.
Yeah.
My entire sleep schedule has done a full, complete 180-degree flop. So I've been playing that, and then that kind of led me back into Octopath Traveler as well.
Oh, wonderful.
I just kind of, I don't know, man, like with all this talk about Final Fantasy VII and everything, I'm just like, man, I really want to I want to play more of Octopath. And I'm coming to realize that I think I made some poor choices with my protagonist because I picked Primrose, who's mainly a support class.
Okay.
And you can't swap her out, or at least not yet. Like, whoever you pick as your first character, you're stuck with them, at least up until a certain point. So I'm trying to come up with the best combinations of jobs for my characters. And, you have certain characters that are kind of a little bit more equipped to deal with certain pairings than others. So like a scholar, which is a magic user, paired with a cleric, which is also a magic user. It's a pretty good combination because now you're basically making like a red mage. You got a healer and an attack mage at the same time. But then you have like, a character like Ulbrich, the warrior class.
Yep, that's who I chose.
Yeah, so like he does a lot of damage, and I want to keep him in my party at all times, but I'm also trying to like diversify my party. And it's just, I don't know, man, like the fucking Primrose, man. She's just like, I can't do what I want to do with her because she's in the way. It's driving me crazy.
She reminds me of Aerith, or now they're calling her Aerith in the FF7 remake. Like, very weak character at first. And and you just feel kind of just like kind of bothered by it.
Yeah.
So I think Primrose has that same sort of effect from memory.
Yeah, I'm kind of getting that vibe. I mean, I wouldn't really compare it to Ares from the skill level. You know, Ares was very much a white mage.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, like Ares was being a healer at the beginning of a game is kind of rough, because in the beginning of the games, you're usually not receiving enough damage to warrant healing all the time. And your character doesn't usually do enough damage to be useful.
Mm-hmm.
You know? And that's kind of the same thing with Primrose. Like, she's got some really good buffs, though. I'm kind of finding that out. And I think what I really need to do is not worry about trying to kill things. You just have her focus on buffing everybody, you know? Because once I start throwing down some of those buffs on, like, Ulberich, if I, like, boost his physical attack, it does make a difference.
I personally think that Octopath may be one of, certainly like in the top 10 or top 5 games to play right now with the state of the world. You know, if you're having issues with anxiety or just stress in general, like I feel like Octopath is so perfect because it's such a warm game.
It's very warm. That's a good way to put it. It's a very warm game.
The palette, the premise, everything.
And the music in that game is just so lovely.
Oh, it really is lovely, man. That's such a good way of putting it. I know it makes us sound like we're having a spot of tea in 5 minutes, but you know, it really is a lovely game.
Mm. Yeah, I'm looking
and a lovely
forward
soundtrack.
Yeah, the soundtrack's great, man. I'm really looking forward to firing it back up later tonight. You know, I've been enjoying sitting and using my Switch in handheld mode and just chilling out with it, and it's been fun. It's been nice.
I feel like it's every time I played it, I wanted to eat a piece of like warm apple pie.
Mm.
You know, like by like a fire.
I like apple pie.
Like the crackling of the wood and Octopath in the background and warm apple pie on like a porcelain plate, a nice silver fork.
Octopath Traveler?
Wait for the cream.
Oh God.
That's from Inglourious Bastards when they're eating the apple strudel, and Colonel Landa is like, "Wait for the claim."
I haven't seen that movie in a long time. I don't remember that part.
Oh yeah, it was pretty intense.
Interesting.
But yeah, I'm glad you kind of circle back to that, man, because I feel like it's just right. I mean, there's no way that you can get stressed playing that game.
No, I mean, you know, some of the job combinations I've had up to this point have been pretty stressful, but no, I know what you're saying. Like it's a different kind of stress. It's more like frustration that of the choices that I made. But
sure,
like I'm in too deep, and I know that there's a way out. I just have to go through to get there.
Yeah.
So, what have you been playing, dude?
Lots of God of War, man.
Yeah.
I will say that I'm not super consistent with it. Like I still am having that issue where I kind of procrastinate throughout the work week. But it's understandable. I've kind of sort of accepted that now. And just kind of, it's put me in a better mindset to just be more accepting about some of my poor habits, or I shouldn't even say poor. They're just, it's kind of how it pans out. And I'm just starting to get more comfortable with that. And it's making it a better experience when I do have the chance to fire it up. So with that being said, I did play on Friday for a good few hours or so, had a terrific experience, reported into my colleague from work the following morning. Actually, it was that night, and then he didn't respond, and then I think he texted me at like midnight or something, and I was trying to go to sleep, and I was like, fuck. It's got to be Zach, and sure enough it was. But yeah, played Friday. Great experience. Some pretty monumental stuff happened. Significant parts of the story started unfolding. Didn't play Saturday, and then really dove in hardcore on Sunday. And it was a good, what I call like real sink your teeth in for the day, and just really hunkered down, played. And my God, man, I know it sounds so odd because we're a gaming podcast, but like since you and I don't truly hunker down like we used to, back in the day, when you get the chance to do that, it's so amazing because you realize like, wow, like when you put a good session in for say, even just like 3 to 4 hours, which is quite a long time for us. you get so much out of it. I mean, not only do you make so much progress, but you feel a little bit more immersed because you're not playing for 45 minutes and then checking your phone, playing for another 30, and then you're done.
Right.
That doesn't create an experience. And I certainly had a very, very good experience on Sunday because of the fact that I just kind of committed, tossed my phone elsewhere, didn't really touch it at all, and only took breaks to like get a snack, go to the bathroom, maybe say something to Lauren. And just what is really special about this game is the progress that you make is so compelling, and I think it's very clear when you're making progress in this game. Like, kind of circling back to what you said about Doom, how you feel like you're in an area for so long and you feel like you're not really making any progress, or you're not too sure where the progress is going. With God of War, you know exactly what's going on, and I think it's kind of rare these days to discover a game that has just the right amount of pacing with a very good visibility on your progress.
Yeah.
And I think that's what's making God of War so perfect for me right now, because I would have never thought that a AAA game that I typically don't play, that's like super popular across the board, is I'm deeply in love with it.
Yeah.
Like I want to talk about it all the time, and I can't to certain people I can, but those people that I can, they can't really talk to me back. So it's a unique position to be in, because I can talk about spoilers to those people, but they can't talk outside of what I'm telling them.
Right.
So, and then I have to be careful of the people that haven't played it. So,
right, like me.
Yeah, exactly. And I want to go into detail on the show right now about certain things, but I don't think it's the right thing to do. We have a lot of listeners, and some people probably have not played this game, and I want to respect that. But I can say that the experience is still tremendous. Every time I play, I'm discovering new areas that just are getting more beautiful and more exciting to explore. The relationship with Atreus is very. It took a turn. I'll say that.
Okay.
And it takes some turns here and there, and it creates a very special dynamic between what it would be like to have a son. I mean, granted, I don't have a child, but maybe someday if I do, I'm going to see some of the similarities that you see with the tension between the two of them, and how Kratos is still learning on how to be a father and how to be a better father. And Atreus is growing up with him. He's growing up with a god as a father, and discovering that his father is literally a very powerful god that can do things that Atreus was not aware of. So to be able to have him just kind of with me all the time is just such a cool experience, because it doesn't make you feel like you're playing alone. You feel like you're almost playing with somebody. So that in itself is amazing. The action is just getting better. The enemies are getting harder. But everything's so fair, man. I die here and there, but not very often. And when I do, it's completely fair. And I generally know how I died, and I know what I need to do to not die again.
Yeah.
And there's just the way that they've just, every aspect of it is just kind of perfect. Like the difficulty level, the learning curve, the characters, the story, the sound, everything is just wonderfully orchestrated. And it shows more than any other game I think I've played in years. And that's really saying a lot, because I feel very strongly about other games, as we all know. But this one is certainly deserves a seat in top 10, I would say, easily at this point.
Wow.
Yeah, it's a bold statement, man. I mean, I have a lot of games that I hold in high regard in a sort of top 10, top 15 list, but this one, if I were to leave it out, it would just be a crime. I love this game so much. Everything about it, absolutely everything. There's not one, I cannot think of one complaint. I even discovered this new weapon that I found, which is glorious, and I can't really talk about it, but it's something that I was not expecting to find and use. And I noticed while using it that they even gave Kratos like facial expressions as he's using it. So, for example, you take a game like Sekiro and many other games, when you're fighting, the character's face doesn't change. It's just kind of however the model is, right?
Okay, yeah.
Think about that for a second. Like, you haven't played Sekiro, but like when you watch his face, as far as I know, it's just the same. Like he could be under immense pressure and using a different weapon, and his face is just stoic and blank, which you would think you would not see so much in games anymore at the level that we're at. But with Kratos, I noticed, I was like, holy shit, they even paid attention to like him grimacing and stuff, like when he's like using this particular weapon. And you can see that like when he's in Spartan Rage, or he's using this weapon or a different situation, his facial expressions are fitted for that particular situation. I thought that was very impressive. That level of detail, I just feel like you don't see in games very often at all.
Is his face something that you see on a regular basis? Because it sounds like the game is, kind of like third person, so you're behind him most of the time, right?
Mm-hmm. So, for example, this particular weapon, Kratos will kind of turn a little bit and spin, so you can see like the side of his face and even the front of it at times.
Yeah. And
you can see him like grimacing and like snarling, and it changes like depending on what you're doing. And I was just completely blown away by that, because I was expecting him to just have some sort of generic grimace or just nothing at all. Just his normal bearded face where he looks like he's ready to fucking kill somebody, which is pretty much how he looks all the time.
Yeah, I was going to say.
But it's hard to explain. I think, you'll notice it when you eventually play it, because I wouldn't want to send you a video of it, because when you see it for yourself, it's a very magical thing, or at least it was for me.
Yeah.
But all those little details I find are really stacking up, and the more they stack, the happier I get. And it's incredibly deep, man. I mean, the amount of skills that you can unlock, even just for the weapon, for your shield, for the axe, for Atreus, the armor upgrades and the enchantments that you can put on each piece of armor to upgrade like certain parts of your stats. It's just incredibly deep, but not overcomplicated. It's understandable. It makes sense. Some of the stuff I don't really tool with too much, like the enchantments. I'm like, it's cool, but like I don't really notice a difference. I mean, I could probably go through this entire game with just the axe and be just fine. Some of the skills I don't even use, like, because there's so many. Like there's skill trees, and you can hold this button when you're doing this, and the axe will do something that is cool looking, but it's not exactly what's the right word? Functional. You know what I mean? Like it's there for the sake of being cool, but it's doubtful that you're going to use it, because like one move will be like, oh, while dodging like backwards or while evading, tap this button and you can kind of like boomerang the axe to get a quick hit. And even though it looks amazing, I rarely use it. So that I wouldn't even say that's a complaint. It's just something that I just personally don't use, because there's an abundance of different skills and for the weapons that you can use. So for the axe, there's got to be at least 15 to maybe even 20 different things you can do with this thing. With
all these different like attacks that you can do, like, are they always available to you, or do you have like a bank of available attacks and you have to choose which ones you want and which ones you're going to put aside and not have access to?
Sure, that's a good question. So what you use is you use XP that you gather throughout the game to unlock more skills, and you can choose which ones you want to unlock. So you can put your cursor over, like, say, a skill that you don't own yet, and actually watch a small video of how that skill pans out, like what it actually looks like. Okay. So I can decide, based on that small video that plays, whether or not I want to, like, buy it, if you will. And then you have hack silver that's used for upgrading armor and materials and buying shit.
But once you invest your experience points into that skill, that is always available to you.
Oh, correct? Yes. I'm sorry. I forgot to answer the second part of the question. Yeah, yes, okay. It is always available. So let's say you have a skill tree that has 15 skills and you have 10 of them unlocked. You can use all of them. You don't have to like select one or two. You can literally use all of them depending on just the situation, which I think is really cool. It's not like you have to equip them. Like with Sekiro, like there are certain like combat arts and stuff that you actually have to select and equip. You can't just like use 10 whenever you want. Right. So that makes it pretty accessible, and it gives you a lot of variety in combat. And the combat itself is, you don't get sick of it. Like in Octopath or any other game, sometimes you're like, oh, like another enemy I got to fight. In God of War, it doesn't happen. Like, I'm at this point now where if I know I have to fight this troll that's going to take me like 10, 15 minutes, it's going to be a pain in the ass, I still get excited about doing it.
Okay.
And I feel like that's kind of rare, especially with me. Sometimes I'm like, fuck, man, I don't want to fight another like wave of enemies. Yeah. But because the combat is executed so well and it looks so epic, you get excited about it because you know it's like watching, like, I don't know, John Wick again. Yeah. You know, like everything that you do is very John Wick. It's all cool. Like there's nothing stale about the combat. Like there's so much variety in what you can do. And with the Spartan Rage that you can often trigger, it just makes things so exciting.
Very cool. Very cool.
Yeah, man, I mean, like I said, I could ramble on for hours about it. It's just, it's a very massively rich, rewarding game.
It sounds like it. It's always a pleasure to hear you talk about something that you're very excited about like this, you know?
Yeah, well, I mean, generally I get like super into it. So I know people enjoy me like speak about Skyrim and stuff because like when you truly love something, you can generally, you know, you talk about it differently.
Right.
With so much more passion.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, I'm just so glad I found it, man. I actually thanked my friend Zach today. I was like, you know what, man? Like, you and I have been talking about this game for weeks now, and I'm honestly glad you kind of talked me into it because I would have probably just, you know, glazed over it because I really did not have any interest in playing it.
Do you kind of feel like you missed out by playing it, you know, a couple years later, or do you think that really doesn't matter?
That crossed my mind at one point because I was like, you know what, I'm playing this a little bit quote unquote late, but it's one of those games where I don't know if it really mattered if I was playing during the hype. You know what I mean? Like,
sure.
I think it's a very relative game still, and a lot of people are playing it. I'm sure, like around the world, like here and there. Certainly, probably not as much as you know, release like 2018 and even throughout 2019, but. Yeah, that hasn't really crossed my mind. I think that I'm so in love with it and I'm enjoying it so much that, you know, playing it later is really not a concern.
That's good. That's good.
It is.
I mean, you know, I've kind of mentioned it in the past, but I'm looking forward to having the time to dive into it myself, you know, and kind of having this conversation with you as you know, go through it and you give me your updates each week. It really does. It builds up my anticipation for when I do play it, and it kind of makes me feel a little like left out because I'm not playing it with you.
Oh yeah, I mean, I feel that way about Doom. You know, I feel that way about certain games. Like even right now, FF7, I feel not really guilty, but I feel like slightly behind because like everybody's streaming it, everybody's reviewing it, everybody's playing it, and I pre-ordered that. And did the whole like preload thing and everything, and I haven't even touched it.
well, so let's talk about that because that was going to be one of our topics as well too.
It was
like you bought the game, you pre-ordered it and you preloaded it, so you went digital. You're ready to go. First of all, what brought you to making that decision to buy it, and then follow up with what pumped the brakes and kept you from playing it now?
Sure, I'd be glad to. So to make this somewhat brief, I mean, I was in love with the original game. I've played it, I don't know how many times, but never beat it. I think I might have mentioned on the show that I've had a lot of playthroughs and I kept like deleting the file somehow and losing my progress and just kind of always getting to a similar point, and then the same thing would sort of happen again. And, you know, obviously when the remake was announced back in, I think, 2015 or 16, I was super hyped. Just like everybody else. And time went on. Played a portion of the demo, never finished it. And even though you and I were concerned, I think the reviews were just so good that I couldn't not get it. And I knew that I would be able to enjoy the game for what it is because what I did play of the demo, I did like. I was concerned about the combat, and I still am. And I hope that doesn't like ruin it for me. And I doubt it will. But because of the reviews, I think is really what sold me. They were very good.
They've been really just outstanding. I mean, we're talking 9s and 10s.
Yeah, and that's a relief, I think. I've heard a few things here and there about a couple small, like little things that people don't really like. They're not spoilers. I don't even remember what they are. It was just like a couple like tiny nitpicks.
Okay.
But I think that's expected with a game that's so beloved by so many.
Yeah. It's hard to please everybody when you're trying to do... I mean, if you think about it, they didn't just remaster the game. Like, they made a completely brand new experience with a similar, the same story.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
so
I think
you're going to piss people off.
Very much so. And I think what we're seeing unfold now with like a few nitpicks here and there and good reviews is completely normal for everything that we just said. And I think what's going to happen, this is my prediction, people are going to fall in love with this game over like the next month or so. And when it's beat, they're going to be thirsting for that next installment. I think that's what's going to happen.
Which has no announced date, as far as I'm aware.
Not at all.
And not even an announced system. Everybody, I think, is assuming that it's probably PlayStation 4, but we really don't know. I mean, the PlayStation 5 is coming out this holiday season, right?
Yeah, which is crazy. Like, with everything going on, I still find it hard to believe that I guess it's still slated for holiday. And I hope so, because I'm looking forward to it. But
yeah,
outside of that, reviews sold me on it. I'm glad I got it. And I think the reason why I didn't play it this weekend is God of War really does have me by the balls right now, which is a good thing.
Yeah.
And, that's something I'm not used to. And I've been kind of spreading the word like wildfire because, not only do our listeners know how we're not always super committed, but my friends know as well. So like when they hear this, like, wait, you're still playing the same game? So it's just holding my attention, and I don't want anything else to really like mess that momentum up. However, I think FF7's gonna happen tonight. I'm gonna break into it, even if it's just for an hour or so. Because I have a movie planned with Lauren later. I know I'm going to have the energy to do this because I put up a Music Monday earlier and it got me ready.
Yeah.
I was like, all right, I'm ready for this.
I haven't listened to it yet, but it's the prelude from the new version of the game, right?
Oh God, it's so good.
Yeah.
It's so good.
Is it the same one that plays in the demo?
Yes, sir.
Oh yeah, it's fantastic.
Yeah. I mean, I found myself listening to it for a while. Like when the demo came out, I just sat there and I was like, oh my God, this is good.
Yeah.
And it was it was exactly what I wanted it to be, like heightened, a little bit more produced, more orchestral, and obviously not so like MIDI-like like the PS1 version, which when you go back and listen to it, sounds like a fucking like Jack in the Box.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think ultimately I felt a little bit bad about not getting into it over the weekend because I wanted to really sink my teeth into it for like 4 or 5 hours to be able to talk about it today. But I'm not in a super rush, and I think because of the fact that I know I have it, I know I'm going to get to it this week, was enough to kind of let that settle and not feel so bad about it.
Yeah, I mean, I really am looking forward to hearing your thoughts on the game because I too started getting swept up in those reviews. I've been pretty vocal about my feelings on the game since playing the demo, and then I started reading those reviews, man, and I was just like, fuck, I want this.
Mm-hmm.
And it just, I had to talk myself down. I actually had to like talk myself down from it because I was really close to pulling the trigger on it. Best Buy, was given, if you pre-ordered it, you get $10 back on it. So it would have dropped, if I bought the regular edition, it would have dropped it down to $50.
Mm-hmm.
And then I'm like, well, I still haven't beaten Doom. I still got Octopath. And I was so on the fence with the gameplay of the demo that I don't know, man. I'm going to buy the game. Let me make that clear. Right? Okay. I will buy Final Fantasy VII Remake, and I will play it, and I'm sure at some point I will come around, and I'll be like, "Yo, this is the greatest game I've ever fucking played," or I'll have nothing but positive things to say about it.
Yeah,
and I'm not criticizing the game choices either. I think what the developers chose to do is very bold.
Mm-hmm.
I know there are a ton of people that are super happy with it. I think the game is absolutely worth $60. I'm not trying to downplay the quality of the game,
Mm-hmm.
But if you look at like the types of games that I like, there's not a ton of hack and slash games. And I kind of walked away feeling like this is a hack and slash game.
Yeah,
And maybe it's deeper than that, but the demo never gave me that taste of where it gets deeper. Because they don't give you an opportunity to control more than 2 characters.
No, I completely respect that, man. I mean, my thoughts have not even changed either. I've pretty much been in the same camp as you as initial thoughts, regardless of whether or not I finished the demo. Yes, I'm not giving it a fair chance because I did not finish it. However, my first initial impressions with some of those combat moments definitely were the same. I felt like, wait, what's going on here? Like, this is not... I was kind of expecting a little bit more of the... and then just like, let's do the same shit, but just give me like PS5 graphics,
Sure.
And I'd be fine with that, dude. Like if they made it where it looks exactly how it looks now and it was completely turn-based just like before, but with the same graphics we see now, I'd be like, oh, dude, this game's like the best game of all time.
Yeah, and I would have bought it in a heartbeat. If that's what they did, I would have just jumped right in because all of the feelings and emotions that the original 1997 release created for me, I got those same feelings and emotions with the demo. Like when that train is coming in and Cloud jumps off of it and everything, that whole opening sequence very much reminded me of the original, and it just brought me back in all the best ways.
Mm-hmm.
And then I started swinging the sword. I'm like, this ain't right.
Yeah, it's just like Devil May Cry.
Yeah, which, I mean, and that's fine. Like, I don't have a problem with that, but Devil May Cry isn't really for me, or at least I don't think it is. Like, I've never been into those types of games.
I mean, not to go completely off topic, but the DMC that came out, like 2011 or 12, somewhere around there. Yeah. I played a good chunk of that game, and it was fucking fantastic.
Yeah.
Even for somebody, I mean, I'm into those kind of games, so like it makes sense for me. But I would give that a try at some point. The DMC.
I mean, there's some similarities between that and like God of War too, isn't there?
Yeah. It's got the same sort of pacing, and the action is similar. Like it's pretty intense. There's a lot of cool things. It's very stylistic.
Okay.
But I'd like to get back to that too. I mean, I was playing that on PC actually at one point. It looked really good.
Right. Yeah.
But
I mean, one of these days I'm going to sit down and clear some space for those types of games because I've always wanted to check out Bayonetta. Mm-hmm. I think as a gamer, there are certain games that I kind of should play. Mm-hmm. Devil May Cry is in that bucket. So, and even like some of the older God of Wars too, which I've dabbled with, but I've never really dove into. It's just the hack and slash genre just never really did much for me.
It's got to be done right. If I think even for somebody who does like them, if it's not done right, it can be too much of literally just a hack and slash that is nothing more than just that. And I think it's important that if you're going to make a hack and slash, it's got to have some substance to go with it. You got to have like a starch and a veggie to go with that meat,
Right.
But yeah, no, ultimately, man, I think to kind of wrap up our FF7 discussion here, it's an interesting thing that's happening right now with this game. People are... Perhaps we should have been a little bit more prepared for what we were experiencing because this is a huge change. And what we had this imagination of what this game was going to be like. And perhaps we all thought that it was just going to be the exact same thing, but just with like next-gen graphics and that's it. But it's more than that, clearly. I mean, the way that they've imagined these worlds like Midgar and everything, they do look fantastic. I could certainly say that much.
Yeah, I mean, I knew that the story was expanded and that they were adding layers to, Midgar, because Midgar's like a 5-hour experience, and they drew it out to roughly 40 hours or more. Mm-hmm. So, like I was expecting that to be different. I just wasn't expecting the gameplay to be so drastically different, and that's really been the only hang-up that I've ever had. With the demo at least.
Yeah, and in a lot of ways, I think this discussion is absolutely inspiring me to fire this up tonight because I want to know for myself, I want to know for you, and I'm excited to bring first impressions for next week. So
yeah, definitely, I'm looking forward to it, man.
Yeah. What else we got?
Let's see here. Oh, yeah, so there's this rumor that they're remaking Resident Evil 4, hot off the heels of the RE2 and RE3 remasters, remakes. Hold on, let me pump the brakes for a second.
Okay.
Is it a remaster or a remake? What the...
Yeah, good question. I mean, let's just say here, I saw this on Twitter, and one of the first tweets I saw was, oh, cool, we're getting this game on like another console once again because it's already been released for every single console ever created ever.
Right.
It was something like that, and I just kind of chuckled, and it really has been re-released as a remaster or just a regular re-release so many different times. And this is a full remake. So, like you said, coming hot off the heels of RE2 and RE3, and maybe even just kind of riding that wagon of FF7 remake, perhaps we're going to see more remakes than remasters moving forward. But if this is truly real and it's not just a rumor, that I will be very excited because I do like RE4 a lot, and I would like to see that completely remade.
So is that a game that you have a lot of experience with, the original Resident Evil 4?
Yes. I had that day one on GameCube back in the day. Played a good amount of it, and then I finished it on Xbox 360 years ago, and just finally said, all right, I want to finish this game. So I started from the beginning, went all the way through. Fantastic experience. It could have been a little bit shorter. I think Damien had the same review there. Yeah. But it's just a very, very good take on Resident Evil, and I think the reason why that game got so much reception was because it wasn't super tanky like some of the other games. The controls were different. You had a focus on having a laser pointer on pretty much every weapon. And it was just really good. It was just a really well done game.
Yeah, I mean, that game was revolutionary for the franchise.
Yes.
In a lot of ways, you know.
Yes.
I've never been a huge Resident Evil fan, but I've always been kind of aware of it because most of my friends were huge fans of the franchise. Mm-hmm. So I kind of experienced Resident Evil 1 and 2 through my friends without really having much experience of my own. And I remember Dave, in particular, when Resident Evil 4 came out, just absolutely enthralled with it. Like, he loved it. And so much so that when years later I got my own copy, I would say probably within the past couple years, I found a copy for the PlayStation 2. And I had never had my own copy of the game before. So I sent him a text message, and he replies with like a fucking book. He's like, well, first of all, the PlayStation 2 isn't even the best version. If you can find the GameCube or you can find this version instead, I really recommend that. And here's why. Also, there's a website that's doing like a remaster of the game where somebody has gone to all these different locations and taken photographs of the actual places that inspired the game. And he just goes into this whole thing. And I'm like, oh, well, I'm playing it for the first time. Yeah, it was a very, very interesting experience, and I never finished the game. I didn't really spend a ton of time with my PS2 for a couple of reasons. One of which is because I took the controller apart to clean it, and then when I put it back together again, it stopped working. And I just haven't had time to like really play with it. But I'm confident that I can fix it. I just haven't had time to fix it because those controllers are a process to put back together. Let me tell you, man.
I can only imagine. But yeah, there's a lot of arguments on what is the best version to play of this game because it's been released on so many different platforms. Yeah, I will say that there's a big community that believes that the GameCube version was the best. Yeah, with like progressive cables and all that shit. Then you have PS2 fans. PC was by far the worst. I don't care what anybody says. Mm-hmm. The PC port was awful. It was just a horrible port. I actually owned it. I actually had the physical PC game of that.
Wow, big box.
Oh yeah, a big box physical PC. Mm-hmm. I never say PC, so my brain's just like, I don't know how to say that.
Computer. Personal station.
Yeah, the screen that I'm looking at. Yeah. Jesus Christ. But yeah, no, I had the physical version. And it was just awful, dude. It was super muddy. Didn't run well. I don't know why I got it. I think it was because I didn't have access to the GameCube version anymore, and I bought it on PC. Mm-hmm. And then I played it, like I said, on 360, and I think it was the remastered version, or it might have just been like a regular, copy of it for 360.
Right.
Can't remember, it was years ago, but it ran fine on that. So whatever version that was good. And then they did a remaster for PS4 and I believe Xbox One as well. And that one I have not played. I would imagine that one's quite good as well.
Right. Yeah, I'm not sure. They put a lot of the Resident Evil games out on the Xbox and the PlayStation. I think it was 4 through like 7. Just got like dropped out of nowhere on there. Mm-hmm. And then, of course, the recent remasters as well, too.
Yeah. So, I mean, if there's a remake for 2022, I mean, I wouldn't say that that's too far off. You would think that in some cases, maybe that's like, why would it take so long? It's such an old game. But if they're going to treat this the way they did with RE3, which I have not played, but it looks very good, then hopefully it will look pretty astonishing.
Would that be like a day one purchase for you?
I don't know about day one. Unless, it's a Final Fantasy VII Remake effect where reviews are just like 10s across the board and I don't have much to play, then maybe. Yeah. But I'm anticipating that I'll still have a backlog in that year.
Okay.
So we'll see. But it'll definitely be a purchase for sure.
Okay, cool.
Unless it's a flop, but I doubt it.
Yeah. I mean, that makes sense. I mean, why would you spend the money on it at that point? Interesting. Well, I'm looking forward to seeing what news comes out of this, because I mean that is a pivotal game in gaming history overall, let alone the Resident Evil franchise.
Mm-hmm. Very much so.
Have you seen the new PlayStation 5 controller?
I have. I was lucky enough to see that. I think maybe 36 minutes after it was released. I think it was just a timing thing, like complete luck, where I just went online and I saw it and I was like, oh shit, I got to spread this everywhere. Yeah. And I think it's because it was the first thing that we've seen physically, right? And
right.
I really like it. The colorway, I'm not super keen on because that doesn't really go with anything, but I'm sure they're going to come out with many different colorways and they're going to come out with a black one.
Sure. I mean, I've seen some mock-ups with a black controller. I don't know if it's an official mock or probably not, I have to assume. But
yeah, I saw the black one too, and the mock-up did look perfect. I was like, well, that's kind of a perfect controller in my eyes, at least.
Yeah. Now, they haven't released like any kind of colors for the system itself. It's just a controller at this point, right?
Yes, sir.
What are your thoughts on the actual controller? Colors aside, let's talk about the layout, the buttons. I mean,
sure,
because it's been very minor changes, but changes.
Minor but changes. Yeah, I think that's a really good way of putting it. I think initially, a lot of people had the same reaction where this looks like an Xbox controller has been fused into this slightly, because it has a slightly larger appearance and the layout is generally the same. It looks like there's a little bit more emphasis on a larger touchpad and perhaps more of an emphasis on the usability of it, which I'm excited for. Because we all know that the DualShock 4 for the PS4 did not utilize that pad as a touch or a gliding sort of like, I'm going to glide my finger across this, as well as the speaker. They did not use those two pieces of that controller very well. They just didn't really use it. It was used well when it was used, but for the longest time, that little touchpad was talked about for like 1 or 2 games, and it was like a very small thing that you could do, and then that was kind of it. So it seems, based on the article that I read, which was from the official PlayStation blog, that they were going to put way more of an emphasis on the speaker, the microphone in the controller, and the touchpad. They've moved the light bars on the sides of the touchpad now instead of on the center top, just to create a little bit more of a larger effect, I think they said. They got rid of the share button. They replaced it with something else.
Yeah, it looks like the honk mechanic from Untitled Goose Game.
Yeah, I did see that. That was very, very clever. It was only a matter of time. I think I saw it and I was like, what does that remind me of? And then sure enough, that popped up. But underneath, based on the high quality pictures that they uploaded on that article, I clicked on it and then I zoomed in. and it looks like it has like a matte finish on the underneath of it. And I'm excited about that because I like a matte finish, and it looks slightly speckled almost, where maybe that's going to help with like controlling palm sweat and just general comfortability, as well as maybe just, a cooling aspect. I really don't know, but it's nice to see like a little bit of a slightly different grade of plastic on the bottom.
Okay.
So that was kind of interesting. The triggers look the same. I know they have haptic feedback now, which I'm very excited for. So, for example, when you go to pull on a trigger, perhaps slowly to pull out a bow, let's say in Horizon, you're going to feel that tension of the bow in that actual trigger.
I think the Steam controller has haptic feedback, which I don't have a ton of experience with, but when I was using it last, I remember that being pretty cool. Let's see here, haptic. Yeah, it does. Oh, the trackpads have haptic feedback. The actual triggers themselves don't.
Yeah, I mean, just when they announced the haptic thing, I wasn't too surprised because I know there was some chatter about that, and they were going to think of new ways to make the controller more immersive with your gameplay experience. And I'm a sucker for some of that kind of stuff. I mean, don't get me wrong, like, you can give me a controller with, like, no vibration and no other special effects, and I'm fine. Because at the end of the day, it's more about what you're playing. But I am a sucker for that stuff, and I do like the speaker. We all know my feelings on that. And I would like to see a little bit more emphasis on really making the controller more valuable to the system instead of just a controller.
Do you think that the microphone being built into the controller is a good move? They kind of stress that you can use it for voice messages or party chats, but like if you're going to be doing a lengthy conversation, you really need to plug a headset in. But this is like kind of like a quick thing. How do you feel about that?
I think that, like a lot of folks, I'm probably hesitant naturally because, when we think about headsets, that creates an enormous rabbit hole of what's best and how to do it. So if they're going to put a mic in there for just sort of light communication, sure, if it works fine, great. But if they can figure out a way to make it really, really good, where you don't need a headset and maybe you can hear people's voices through the controller the way that you would in Transistor, then that would be pretty revolutionary, where like it kind of eliminates headsets for only the people that want them for immersive sound. But if they can create it where I can speak to you through the controller and it's crystal clear, like a Skype call, and I can hear you through that, like Transistor or a Skype call, and just have it be like noise canceling and all that stuff, like when I'm not speaking, which would probably be pretty hard to do. But if they could do that, that would make me very happy, I think.
Yeah, I mean, that's what they're alleging.
Yes, they are insinuating that.
Yeah. So
overall, man, I mean, like, I read that article a couple times. I'm impressed. I'm excited to get my hands on it. And I like haptic feedback. I don't really use it in my personal life. I think my phone definitely has it. And it's cool, like, when you experience haptic. It's on my Apple Watch. And it's, it's like that nice little, like, it's not even really a vibration. It's more of like a literal tap. So it's more subtle but effective. And I'm interested to see how they're going to use it.
Well, your bowstring analogy, I think, is a great one. Because that's really what it comes down to. You're supposed to feel like there's resistance to what you're doing.
Yeah. And, some people might find it gimmicky and maybe they'll turn it off. But I think if it's used correctly and it's used in innovative, creative ways, depending on the game, we could be looking at a pretty special controller that really does enhance and augment your experience.
I'm looking forward to checking it out. I think it's a well done controller. Like, I really do enjoy the PlayStation 4 controller. I've always enjoyed the DualShock, no matter which iteration it's been. So I think they have, I mean, it's just a really well thought out controller with I think a pretty good D-pad. I have become more accustomed to having the thumbstick split. over the years. I think the Xbox kind of made that a little bit more comfortable. And it's not so much because of the thumbstick. It's a little bit more because of the other buttons. I think having my left thumb on the analog stick at the same horizontal plane as the ABXY is a little bit more natural for me. But outside of that, and that's a minor complaint. Like it does when I pick up that PlayStation controller, it doesn't even occur to me that that's a thing.
And I respect that argument that people have or that opinion rather, on like how the Xbox controllers have always had these separated sticks, the analog sticks, and they generally do feel great. I love the Xbox 360 controller. I even don't mind the One controller. It's a great controller. But I've never had an issue with DualShocks ever. I've had a DualShock since PS1. I've had every iteration after that, and I've never had an issue.
Yeah, they're just, it's a solid controller design. It's well thought out, and I'm glad that, despite the fact that they almost took a different direction with the PS3, they've kept the same design and just made minor improvements on it over the years. When something isn't broken, don't fix it.
Yeah, and I think that's the most impressive thing about this PS5 DualSense is that we're seeing something that's just an enhanced version of what we are familiar with, and they didn't really mess with too much. They just added, I think, a little bit more bulk, because the DualShocks generally are a smaller controller. So I think maybe they listened to the fans, and fans were saying that they wanted something just a little bit more sizable.
Yeah.
So we'll see.
Cool. Yeah, man. I'm looking forward to it. I'm definitely going to want to get my hands on it, as soon as possible. I haven't really decided if I'm going to try to get the PS5 at launch. Probably not immediately. Maybe within the first year, but...
it's tricky because, I'm kind of with you on that, but then my fear is that we won't be able to find one.
That's not an issue. I'm not worried about that because, you know what? If I can't find one, then the decision's been made for me. I'll just get it when I do. You know what I mean?
That's fair.
I'm not going to stress out about that.
Yeah.
So, well, man, we've been talking about an hour straight at this point.
Nice.
Is there anything else that you wanted to discuss, or if you want to wrap this thing up?
No. I think the last thing I'll say is I can't wait to see the console itself. That's it.
Yeah, I'm surprised that they haven't put out any images on that yet. I have to imagine that the worldwide pandemic is kind of contributing to that, but
I'm hoping summer at least.
Yeah. I mean, it's E3 would be in a couple months, if it was still happening. June, I believe.
Yeah.
So, I know Sony didn't have any intention of being at E3, but usually around that time is when they would make their own announcements. So maybe while they might not have an E3 presence, they would probably be making some sort of statement while the world is watching.
I think the most ideal situation would be me outside in a nice hot July day, drinking a vodka lemonade, and then I pull up my phone and I see a picture of it, and then I go inside and I cry in excitement. That would be the most ideal way that I see this thing, is just kind of sporadically.
Will, can you give me a little girl squeal for the record?
Oh my god, that was horrible. That was horrible. My dry throat was not... It's the dry Dr. Pep throat.
Oh god.
I honestly, with as deep as my voice is, I don't think I could even do one. I'd have to try really hard.
I can just imagine you squealing. Just... Ah!
I would probably just smile ear to ear and run inside and just tell everybody, because that's usually what I do. I'm like a 14-year-old when I see gaming news.
You're sitting out on the deck with Lauren. You got your iced lemonade, and she's laying there. She's got her sunglasses on, getting a tan. You pick up your phone, you look at it, you get so excited that you knock her out of her chair to get her out of the way of the door.
Stub my toe. Dude, I probably would, too, because I just do shit like that. I would do something weird, too, make a sandwich after, because I'd be like, oh, I'm such a fucking good mood now, I'm going to make egg salad.
Yeah.
I'm weird like that, man. I'm just such a weird guy, when there's
today's a
good
great
news.
day. The PlayStation 5 has been made official, and I had an egg salad sandwich.
Yeah. This calls for an egg salad sandwich, damn it.
Oh, man. Well, if that's how you're celebrating, man, I guess you're doing all right.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, God. Will, if somebody wants to follow you on Twitter, how can they do so?
Will_gear.
You can follow me at ScienceStorm. We're on the web at WDGRPodcast.com. Hit us up on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram at WDGRPodcast. Send us photos of your egg sandwiches, your egg salad sandwiches. Dude, I am super excited. Just as a quick sidebar here. For Easter, we made a ham, one of those nice honey hams. I know you're vegetarian.
Mm-hmm. I can appreciate this, though.
But I'm going down a path with this, my friend. I have not been eating breakfast most mornings because I've been waking up at 4:30 in the morning, and I've been trying to be really disciplined about fasting.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm skipping breakfast, and I'm eating lunch around noon. And It's usually a peanut butter and jelly sandwich, or today I had tuna salad.
Uh-huh.
But breakfast is my favorite fucking meal of the day.
And
it's not even just eating in the morning. It's the food. I love eggs. I love things with eggs. Quiche, I avocado toast with cracked runny egg on top.
Oh.
French toast, I make bomb-ass French toast, bro.
Oh, I believe it.
And so we have this great honey ham, nice thick slices, already pre-sliced, so they're all the same size. Tomorrow morning, I am making an egg sandwich with 2 fried eggs.
Okay.
A slice of that honey ham cooked in the same pan as the eggs, and it will flavor the eggs very nicely.
Okay.
American cheese.
Yep.
On a toasted cinnamon raisin bagel.
Oof.
I cannot wait for that.
I'm going to say one more thing, and feel free to put this in bloopers or after the show, post credits, whatever. But I need to get this out, okay?
Do it up.
All right, here we go. Will's perfect breakfast sandwich. I hope everybody's ready for this. Toasted Kaiser roll, slightly toasted Kaiser roll, poppy seed. Okay. 2 eggs fried over hard, but not overcooked, but over hard.
Yep.
Okay. Hash brown patty.
Yes.
Not a hash brown, not home fries, not shredded hash browns. 1 hash brown.
Yep.
1 C evil. 1 hash 1 hash brown patty.
Yep.
Okay. A slice of Land O'Lakes American cheese, or maybe a slice of good quality cheddar.
Yep. You need something super melty though.
Yeah, super melty. Salt and pepper.
Yep.
And a nice little glob of ketchup.
Yes.
That's it.
There was a cafeteria at my last job that would make that. Actually, the cafeteria at my current job makes something like that too. And you get it with again, the whole vegetarian thing on your side, but if you get it with a sausage patty on it too, they used to call them sausage smashers.
Okay.
And it's the same exact thing you described with that hash brown. Once you put the hash brown on it, they started calling it a smasher. I don't know why.
Dude,
but every time I think about it, I'll be I want 1 sausage smasher, please.
Oh, dude, when that hash brown just breaks apart and it's got that warm, potatoey, buttery flavor with the salt and pepper.
That Kaiser roll is the key, though, because you need to have... I don't like the poppy seeds, so I would skip on those. Okay. But lightly toasted is important because you want crunch, but that chewiness.
Yes. Yeah, you want the chewiness from the bread, and if the roll is at a room temperature, that's doable. But you better not pull that shit out of the fridge and not heat that up.
Agreed.
You don't want a
100%.
cold Kaiser roll and a warm interior. We need to end this show.
All right, folks. Thanks for listening. I'm going to go make some food. We'll see you next time.
See ya.